So we haven't seen a Korean hit film recently, perhaps because of the Hollywood hit Interstellar is still going strong, but winter is normally a strong time for local releases. And here to give us a preview of what's coming up this season, we are joined by our film critic, Pierce Conran, in the studio. Good afternoon, Pierce.
Good afternoon to you.
So we start with Interstellar yet again, and the film seems to be on an incredible run here, and I'm looking at a huge fan right here in front of me.
Absolutely, I can't hide it. I love the film. I've seen it a few times, and
a few times, so yes. More than twice.
Twice. I'm going to see it a third time, maybe this weekend if I can squeeze it in. And I just got the soundtrack recently. It was released this week, and that's great. Mm-hmm. But so the film has been doing really, really well. I mean, it's kind of a global hit, but in Korea it's been performing much stronger than in other markets. Mm-hmm. It's already closing on 6 million admissions, and it's still first in the ranking. It's going to have another big weekend. People are talking about the big 10 million barrier. I think that's a stretch. That seems a little too far, but it's definitely going to go. It'll get quite close to that. And we also have, of course, Hunger Games this week, which is going to be a big hit in America and other places. Perhaps the biggest of the year in America, but I don't think it's going to do that well here. The brand isn't really well known, and previous installments haven't really caught on here, and I expect the same to happen this time.
Right. So could we expect some competition coming from Korean-made films?
I think that's going to start happening soon. We have the industry has been a bit slow right now, but they're really hoping for things to pick up. Winter season is generally a strong time for local releases, and over the next 5 weeks there are a number of pretty high-profile films, particularly towards the end of that, and they, I think, will really kind of go head-to-head with the Hollywood releases.
Okay, so what's the first out of the gate this time?
The first one is going to be next week's Big Match, which is called Big Matchi, the same thing in Korean, and this is an action comedy that stars Lee Jung-jae and Shin Ha-gyun.
Oh, two big names.
Two very big names, and what you have is Lee Jung-jae, who's kind of really beefed up for this role. He's playing an MMA fighter whose trainer/brother gets kidnapped, and he's framed for murder and ends up going on the run. But he's being directed by this kind of group of people who are using him as a pawn to kind of do this kind of this betting ring for, like, the super rich. And Shin Ha-gyun is the person who's kind of speaking in his ear. He's called Ace, and so this is it's a big kind of spectacle, action and comedy, and some big names in there.
Right, we can see that right there. It's really full of action. So
Absolutely.
Have you had a chance to see it? Did they already have a premiere?
Yes, I saw it yesterday. The press screening was yesterday, and it's certainly, I think. I was interested about this project because of the cast principally, and I think my enthusiasm diminished over time, and honestly the final product kind of fell in line with my expectations. It's very well made, it's got a good cast, a lot of good secondary performers as well, but there's not a lot of pop to it. It's all very, very serviceable, but it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't really stand out. But I think it'll get some eyeballs on it.
So perhaps one of those films where you can guess what the ending's gonna be like.
I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen.
Okay. So what comes out after that, after the big match?
Now the next one is going to be a much smaller film, actually. It's called FiveSiblings in Doksu Village, which is a bit of a mouthful in English. It has Song Se-byuk in it, and he's one of these siblings, and they're in this village, in this rural community, and they're kind of from I think they're like stepbrothers and things like that, and they end up kind of being embroiled in this mystery in their hometown. But the film hasn't really kind of been very visible. There's been really almost no marketing. It's from Royal Tailor Entertainment, but the film is out on December 4th.
And you can see there Song Se-byuk pulling out his guns and really just having that. He's kind of known of an actor to have that awkward acting skills, but I think that's the characteristic of him, right?
That's true, although to be honest, he's kind of changed that this year. He's had two really good roles. One of them was A Girl at My Door, or Dohia, with Beduna, and he played the antagonist in that. Again, he's got this long hair that he's sporting now, and he was really good in that. And he was also in My Ordinary Love Story, which was a really good, another strange role for him, but so he's branching out.
Okay, so maybe this one is also one to look forward to. So what about 국제시장? I've been hearing a lot about that movie.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big film of the season. Now, 국제시장, which means international markets, and they're referring to the international markets in Busan. Actually, the English title is Ode to My Father. This does look to be the big hit of the winter season. It's from CJ Entertainment. It stars Hwang Jong-min and Kim Yoon-jin, who would be known to international audiences for her role in Lost. And also that Oh Dal-soo is kind of a really great
really
supporting player. Yeah, some big names there, and it goes across history. This character kind of has this stall in the market, and it takes place in a lot of countries, and it's directed by J.K. Yoon, who is a very big name in the industry as a producer and director. He directed Haeundae. He produced things like Quick and May 17. So a lot of pedigree there. And the film hasn't screened yet, but I have heard some pretty good word in it so far. So look to that to put in some very strong numbers when it comes out on December 17th.
On December 17th. So for fans of Hwang Jung-min and Kim Yoon-jin, that's the date to mark. So
Absolutely.
will that leave any room for any other movies that might come out in the market?
Actually, it's going to go up against Hobbit at the same time, so it will have some difficulty there, but I think it'll do okay. Because The Hobbit has done fairly well here, and this is the last one, so I think it'll certainly draw some attention. But we have, a week later, on the 24th, we'll have The Technicians, which is another film by Lotte, and this is the one that they're really pushing. So it's kind of a caper action comedy. It's got Kim Woo-bin, who's a really big star these days. He was in Friend: The Great Legacy, and he's in a lot of TV shows.
Guy these days.
Oh yeah, he's on ads everywhere. The advertising is omnipresent. It's everywhere. I'm not convinced the film is going to be a huge hit, but it'll definitely open well because of the visibility. And depending on how it is, we haven't seen it yet. It will dictate how far it goes beyond that.
It's kind of giving me vibes of The Thieves, but we'll have to see if that's going to be the case. Now, there's also a period of film that you wanted to mention before wrapping up, right?
Absolutely. This is the last big Korean film of the year. There isn't a date set for it yet. It is going to be in December. It's called The Royal Tailor, or Sangyeong in Korean. And I'm assuming it'll come about towards the end of December. It stars Han Seok-kyu and Go Soo, again, two pretty big stars. And given the success of period films recently, we had The Fatal Encounter, we had Roaring Currents, we had The Pirates, last year we had The Face Reader, Masquerade the year before that. This is the time of the period films, so you really can't count against them. I'm not sure how well this will do because of Ode to My Father, but I'm personally very excited. It's by Lee Won-suk, who made How to Use Guys as Secret Tips, a corny sounding but actually really, really great rom-com from last year. So I'm quite excited about this, but I'm uncertain how well it'll do.
Okay, well, December, wow. Come December, we are going to see many, many Korean films out there, so moviegoers will be certainly excited. Thank you very much, Pierce, for coming into the studio today. Thank you.
My pleasure.